We have now launched the online Shockwave course. When I set the company up, which is over 12 years ago now, which is hard to believe, I was always about educating the clinicians as well, not just in terms of the technology. So when Dom Smith came to me with this idea of doing the Shockwave course, I was all for it. And Dom and Katie have done a fantastic job of putting it together. It's really impressive, really comprehensive. It is technology agnostic, so whatever system you're using will be able to help you with this. So it's a brilliant piece of work. The guys have done really well. So check it out and go to the link below and let us know what you think.
Hello, today I'm joined by Sean Savage, who is a specialist in podiatric sports medicine. Sean, how are you doing?
Very nice indeed. Good to see you, Andy. Thank you for the invitation. Nice to be on
Likewise.
board. Yeah. So
Well, I've actually just about to book my stag do to Belfast, so
well,
maybe we can tie in a visit and I can expense the trip. Actually, I've just thought about that. That might be quite good.
not a problem. I can tell you all the places to go and not to go. Belfast is actually it's quite a vibrant city now. I mean, I grew up in Belfast, and many years ago it was a place you didn't want to go to. But no, we've even got tourists in Belfast now, and that's how good it is. And amazing amount of restaurants and bars. So yeah, it's a really cool place to come. You'll have fun, and us Belfast people are good fun. You'll have a laugh there. That'll be good fun.
Yeah, no, I love it as a city. So no, I'm intrigued by that because Belfast has obviously got a lot of stigma from like
Yeah.
the past on that. So what was it like growing up in Belfast?
Oh, well, I mean, it was a sort of thing I mean, in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid, probably the 80s when I was a sort of teenager. You sort of stayed in your own community. You only ever went into the town on special occasions when mum was buying you Christmas clothes or your Christmas presents and things. You very rarely went into the actual town because there was a lot of bomb scares, and it was, so you sort of stayed in your own little community. It was only when I sort of went to university, Queen's University, where I actually explored the city, and that was sort of late 80s. um, and it, and then the sort of peace process happened in sort of mid 90s, and that's when you really started to go in and explore the town and find out this is actually a great place. But I mean, it's funny, my daughter, who's 27, so she was born just after the peace process, and there's sort of old footage on TV. She can't believe that, like, we had security, we had police checking everything. She looked and go, my God, is that what Belfast was like? I mean, it seems a lifetime ago, but it's not really that long ago. It's completely changed. And even parts of Belfast years ago you wouldn't have gone near to. Now they're like real tourist places, and then it's where kids are going for parties and bars and restaurants. Yeah, it really is a vibrant place now. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Belfast is raving. It's a good place. So yeah, it's mad to think 25, 30 years ago, and it was such a different place. Nowadays it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it is an incredible city now. It's great. Like, did you feel, like, was there a sense of fear or was that normal human light? Like, what was your mindset? Do you remember like feeling stressed or anxious with it?
Well, I didn't. I suppose when you look back on it now, our parents were probably, they tried to keep you isolated from all that. So my parents always got us involved in sport, got me involved in football. I had an athletics career, things like that. They kept you busy, kept you off the streets, which looking back was probably a good thing, because I know that a lot of unfortunate people who got themselves involved in silly things, and then they got themselves involved in troubles and things like that. So my parents were very good that way. We weren't allowed to hang about the streets. We were always sent off to do something. And I suppose there was a bit of method in that madness of keeping you busy. So I mean, we could hear the troubles, we knew things were going on, but we were never really involved in it. Occasionally, if you were going to school, you may have to take a detour because there was a bus burning, or somebody had been a hijacking, or a dreaded shooting, or a bomb or something like that. But we never really saw hands-on that it was as bad as what you thought it was. I'm sure it was bad. I remember there was a local library that we used to go to and sort of study and mess around, meet girls and things. I remember one day sitting in the library, and there was a bomb scare, and the police came in and told us to leave. And as we were leaving, all the windows came in, the bomb actually went off, and that was scary. And we were running through all these little passages to this sort of safe area. And I remember phoning my parents. That's one thing you had to do. You had to phone your mum and your dad to tell you were safe or you were on your way home. They always wanted to know, and saying we were involved in this bomb scare today. And my mum, we'll get home. That's it. You're never getting into town again. So there was things like that. But that was probably my only ever recollection of being involved in anything quite severe. Most of the times, you kept your own community. You played your football, you did your running, you went to your guitar lessons, you just kept busy. That was it. That's how it happened. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people got involved, and that was the sad thing.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that is what you grew up in, and it's that is just what the reality of it was. So, like you mentioned that you played football then. So, who did you support growing up?
Oh, well, growing up, again, going back to the Troubles, I suppose my team of choice at that time was, believe it or not, Glasgow Celtic. My dad was a mad Glasgow Celtic supporter. But going back to the days when there was the Troubles, I was never allowed to wear a Celtic top because it sort of had that stigma of, the Troubles, Protestant, Catholic, orange and green. So my dad then said to me, well, if you can't support Celtic, you should support Arsenal because they have a lot of good Irish footballers playing for them at the time. So you had Liam Brady and Pat Jennings and all these guys, Terry Neal, things. Because I didn't like Liverpool, I didn't like United because everyone supported them. So I've been an avid Arsenal supporter, hence the no hair with the grief and stress I've had over my life. And I've been an Arsenal supporter ever since. So yeah. And luckily enough, I had a colleague, Simon Harland, who I worked with Simon as physiotherapist, and he was the Arsenal physio for quite a number of years. So I used to get over, and one of my claims to fame was I looked at Jack Wilshere's feet with Simon one time when I was over at a conference, one of the Arsenal symposiums, foot and ankle symposiums. So those were great days. And it was at the recent one there in September, which I believe you were yourself. So I would go over to those conferences, which are fabulous, and get a chance to go to see Arsenal when I can. It's difficult to get tickets, but my family are all mad Arsenal supporters. My son's probably a bigger supporter than I am, but so we as an Arsenal supporter, you always live in hope.
What are your chances of winning the league this year, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Well, we're hoping Villa and City do us a little favour tomorrow night, and then Man City on Sunday. So there you go, living in hope. We're hanging in, just hanging in. I'm not sure. Probably Liverpool, they're playing the best, and we're hoping more that they fall apart than we win. But then again, we have to win. If they fall apart, we still have to win, and that's where the issue is, But we're doing okay.
Yeah, well, no, so I'm an Everton fan, so you'll have really. I loved that equaliser the other night. That was.
If we had been doing the podcast from my house last Wednesday night, that was mad. We were jumping around like madmen. My son, my wife, my other daughter, and myself. When that what do you call him? Tchaikovsky. What's his name? Tchaikovsky scored that goal. A player that I detest because he always gave Arsenal a hard time when he played for Burnley and played for Everton. But my God, what a goal! That was
it. It took me back to the 90s when I grew up watching that. That was like a great time, and the way they play the derbies, epic.
Oh, super. Yeah. So and then even the trouble. Well, it's sort of a bit of argy-bargy at the end. I mean, that's great. It's good to see that in football.
Definitely.
That's fabulous. Remind me of the old United Arsenal days with Martin Keown and Van Nistelrooy and Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira. Yeah, that was proper football. Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen enough. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that era, that 90s and noughties era, is just absolutely amazing. That's like it was. That was the time, like you say, Vieira, Petit, and Perez, all those people. Like that Arsenal team was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was great. Well, it's funny because my son's 21, and so he was born the year of the Invincibles. And I keep saying, I mean, all he's seen 2 FA Cups in the last few years and a couple of charity shields. But he refers to that football as the olden day football, which is pretty sad, actually. So for him, I'd love Arsenal to win something big, just for him, you know, because he's been starved of that. And well, we never know. Could happen.
Yeah, could happen. So, like for you then, so what made you get into podiatry then? What was the driver for that?
Well, I initially started. I did a degree in biochemistry. I went to university and did a degree in biochemistry, and it's quite a funny story actually. When I'm not sure if you're familiar with an orthotics company called Firefly. Well, the guy who owns Firefly now was a guy called Martin McGill. And when I was doing my biochemistry, there was a colleague of mine, Owen, who we were sitting having a drink in the Students' Union, and he had this chap with him, Martin McGill, and Owen introduced him to me. And I said to Martin, "Are you doing chemistry, biochemistry?" He said, "No, I'm doing podiatric medicine." And I was instantly, "What is that?" And he said, "Well, I work with feet." And I said, "My God, why would anyone want to do that?" So we had a chat, and that was it, completely. So when I graduated in biochemistry, I couldn't get a job, and I was thinking of doing a PG cert and going on and doing some teaching in chemistry or biology. And I was walking down the street. This is so funny, and randomly this car pulled up alongside me, and it was Martin McGill in a I can remember it was a green estate BMW. He pulled up alongside. "Hi, Sean, how are you? What are you off to?" And I says, "I'm just going to look for a job." And he just put it, as he was saying this, he put his electric window up and he shouted, "You should have done podiatry," and sped off. And I went, right, I need to have a chat with this guy. So I phoned my friend Owen and said, "Owen, your friend Martin, the podiatrist, I need to have a chat with him. I don't know what to do with my life." And he says, "Go have a chat with him." So I had a chat with Marty, and he was then at that stage just getting in. He was becoming a lecturer in the Queen's University in first year podiatry, because Queen's had just taken it as a degree. And I then decided I'm going to do this. And my wife, it was my girlfriend at the time, she was doing radiotherapy. So she says to me, "Listen, why don't you go and just do another degree?" So I had to go home to my parents and say, "I'm going back to university and I'm going to do podiatry." And of course, my parents were like, "All you want to do is play pool and drink beer," which of course it did, as you did in university. But I decided, let's go. And I went back and did podiatry. And Martin was a huge influence, because he was one of these real go-getters. He introduced us to biomechanics. He introduced us to sports medicine. He had done some time in America with some of the big podiatrists, podiatric surgeons, and I just really got into biomechanics with Martin lecturing. So that's how I graduated then in 1995, and ended up working with Martin for a while in some of his private practices, and that was it. And just decided then, I'm going to see how far I can take this, because I really enjoyed the profession, and I found I wanted to learn more and more. So people like Trevor Pryor, Trevor's such an inspiration. I mean, 30 years and he's still held in such high esteem. I remember getting a few of the so-called gurus in podiatric biomechanics, and this was a time when email was just coming out, and emailing these guys like Ray Anthony, Trevor Pryor, can't even think of any of the others. And the only person who got back to me was Trevor. And he said, "Come over and spend a few days with me in London." And I did, and he had a clinic near the Barbican, and I walked in, and one of the first who had he got in his waiting room? Joe Cole, who played for West Ham at the time. He had an international runner called Julian Golding, who was the 200-meter Commonwealth Game champion, and he had Catherine Mary, if you remember Catherine. They were in his waiting room, and I walked in and went, "Oh my God, this is just another level." So I spent a few days with Trevor. And what was great, it was fabulous seeing that he was working at such a high level, but it also gave me confidence that I wasn't really doing anything wrong. I was doing exactly what he was doing. Maybe he was better. He was better than me, obviously, and always will be. So after that, then I decided to do some postgrad. And from that, I then found out Trevor was lecturing at the QMUL, and when they had introduced the podiatric sports medicine, contacted himself and Matt Padior, Prof. Padior, and I went across once a week for cost me a fortune for over a year and a half to get my qualification in the sports medicine. And that was when I was first introduced to ultrasound and things. And that just opened up huge doors for me as well. So I was the first pod in Ireland to do that, and Northern Ireland. And then from that, then I just moved into ultrasound in a huge way then, and that's what introduced me into the whole area of podiatric diagnostic ultrasound. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That
So
was my
when did that
story.
happen? When did that happen with
That
the
would have been
ultrasound
sort of
then?
the ultrasound. Well, I started the podiatric sports medicine. That would have been 2016. I had been a little bit involved in that before. I worked in a private clinic, and there was a physio who had an ultrasound, and I used to watch him. I don't know how qualified he was. He was an Australian guy, but I could see the benefits that he used in his ultrasound. And I always, at that stage, I mean, we were, as podiatrists, we were always told, you podiatry will never do ultrasound. You know, it was that sort of stigma. Maybe, you know, you stick to feet and leave the MSK stuff to us. But the first time when I went to the QMUL, and the radiologist that lectured us the first day was Otto Chan. I don't know if you're familiar, but Otto would be like one of the top gurus in ultrasound and ever. He was amazing. And I remember the first person he scanned was a shoulder, and I was sitting in a room with doctors, physiotherapists, a couple of podiatrists, and a couple of other sports med consultants. And he starts scanning the shoulder and starts asking, he just went round randomly and started asking, what do you see? And I said, he picked me, and I said, well, I'm a podiatrist, I wouldn't have a clue about shoulders. And he said, yeah, I know you don't, but you know what you're looking at here. There's tendons, there's muscles, and bones and things. And I realized very quickly then that yeah, we can do this. Podiatrists can do ultrasound. There's not, and then when it came to foot and ankle stuff, what was amazing too was the amount of docs and physios were asking me, you know, about foot function and, you know, about structures and things like that. And you started to really feel part of the overall multidisciplinary approach to foot biomechanics and foot function and things. So yeah, it was incredible. And then we did a lot of studying. Ultrasound was hugely beneficial in that. But the problem was we had exams, but we didn't get our accreditation from that course. It was in the pipeline. It still hasn't happened. So after I qualified in that, I then looked around, and Bournemouth AECC offered the case accreditation and the PG cert in ultrasound. So myself and two colleagues, Gareth McMullen and Claire Doby, both from Northern Ireland, we did that, which again was another huge expense. And we were at very disadvantaged because, you know, we were coming back to Northern Ireland and asking radiologists and sports med docs would you mentor us, and they were like, well, podiatrists don't do ultrasound, you know. So we sort of eventually knocked on lots of doors and begged these people, and I was very lucky to have a radiologist, Noel Napier, who took me on board, and I learned a lot from him. He was my mentor, and we then had another mentor, Alan Rankin, sports med consultant, and they took us on board. And so we were the first to sort of get the ultrasound in, I think it was Ireland, actually, Northern Ireland. And it's hugely grown since then. And we've now got, you know, the Royal College have just released guidelines. There's a lot more pods wanting to get involved, which is fabulous that, you know, people are going to do the proper training. There's hopefully going to be a HCPC annotation, which will protect the public that people are qualified in ultrasound and things like that. But it's hugely beneficial, not just on your MSK assessments and your point of care ultrasound, but, you know, I'm qualified to do guided injections. I'm qualified to do steroid hyaluronic injections. As part of our course, we also did the module on knees. So I can assess knees and things like that. But yeah, hugely beneficial, and it's something I sort of think, how do I ever do MSK assessments without ultrasound? You know, and it's amazing now when I'm invited to speak to you know, at undergrad level to the students and stuff, and I'm saying to them, you know, it's a journey. Take it as far as you can. Learn everything. Really push yourselves. Take yourself out of your comfort zone. Go learn ultrasound. Go learn sports med. Do your steroid injections. Do everything. Just take it, because it's a super profession if you embrace it and you push yourself. If you want to do your routine treatments, fine. I'm not looking down at anyone, but I just think if especially in the area of sports med, I think podiatry is a huge part to play. And with the whole multidisciplinary with sports med docs and physios, they really accept us into the group now. So yeah, great. And from that, I was lucky then, to get involved with other people. You mentioned your colleague John Rogers. So John's a sports med doc who works for UK Athletes. I met John. Myself and Trevor were invited in 2007 to go to Nike World Headquarters in Portland, Oregon. We met Mario Lafront. I think he was the BAMEC researcher for Nike, involved in all their shoe production stuff. We had a personal meeting with this guy, and Trevor questioned this man like it was ridiculous. How Trevor just completely pushed podiatry and how they need podiatry involved in their footwear production and things like it. Was superb. But it was even great just to see that. But we had other guys there. John Rogers was one of the sports med docs that came across for the group, and we met some fabulous athletes, Paula Radcliffe and things like that when we were out there. I've got there's a photo of that if you can sort of see. That's all us at 2007. Paul Hobra would be another very well-known physiotherapist there. Trevor Pryor, myself. I can't remember a lot of it, but I remember there was a chap there called Gavin Burt, who was Paula Radcliffe's personal osteopath, and he travelled the world with her. And what a job this guy had, just working on Paula. And she was such a lovely lady. And what was amazing too, she was so informed in podiatry. She wore orthotics, and she always chatted to us, and such a nice lady. And it was an amazing experience. So yeah, I've had a pretty nice little career. And probably about 8 or 9 years ago, that I randomly got a phone call from the Northern Ireland manager, Michael O'Neill. My name was mentioned. They were looking to bring podiatry on board into the sports medicine area of the Northern Ireland team. And one of the doctors, David White, who worked as a colleague of John Rogers, John must have mentioned my name. So this Sunday morning, I remembered as well, I got a random phone call from Edinburgh, and I thought it was just one of these nonsense phone calls. I eventually answered it, and it was, "Hi, my name's Michael O'Neill. I'm the Northern Ireland head coach. I believe you're Sean Savage, podiatrist. Would you ever have a chat with us about bringing podiatry into the Northern Ireland squad?" And I remember, couldn't believe it. So I had to go down a couple of days later and do a little presentation on podiatry to the physios, the team, Michael O'Neill, and the team doc. So I've been with them for 8 years now, and I've been a great part of the team, and back with them next week again. But it just shows you how much the team has grown now, where they've got brilliant medical staff. And even ultrasound now, they've allowed me to bring the ultrasound down, and it's fantastic. You're treating players like, you're looking at Connor Bradley, and things that these guys that are like you see on TV every week, and you're involved in the treatments and involved in just sort of injury prevention and things. So that's been hugely beneficial. Really, really enjoyed that, and again, quite lucky to be involved in that.
Well, yeah, you say lucky, but it sounds like you've put in a load of work to get yourself in these positions and going to London, all of this stuff that makes this other stuff happen, isn't it? So yeah, I'm sure luck is an element of it, but a lot of it is through your tenacity of things.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose you make your own luck in life. I was always one of those still am. I'm sort of quite ambitious still, so I still want to take it as far as I can. And I think any of the things that when I'm talking to the sort of undergrad students, I think one of the big things is collaboration. So, so go out there, knock on doors, chat to people, go to conferences, go to multidisciplinary. There's no point in being a big name in podiatry. You want to be bigger. You want to go to conferences where there's doctors, there's physios, there's orthopedic surgeons, where you can go and chat to these people and, show them what we can do, showcase your profession. And I was very lucky last year. I got invited for the first podiatrist, I think it was in 12 years, to speak on podiatric medicine and sports medicine at the British Orthopedic Foot and Ankle Symposium in Belfast. That was terrifying. So we had 300 orthopedic surgeons from all over the world in Europe. We had the physio before me up speaking was Chris Blakely, Professor Chris Blakely, who's like world renowned. He's one of the most researched physios in the world, and he was giving his talk on lateral ankle pain, and then I was up after that, and but it went down very well, and they contacted me to ask for another podiatrist for the conference. Was just in Birmingham and Brighton there a few weeks ago, so podiatry's now in the door. And they're going to have podiatry. They're looking next year at maybe doing some workshops and bringing podiatrists on board and things. So that's great. It showcases our profession to the orthopods, to the physios, and gets us in the door and makes us, a proper profession. And so things like that are great. When you see that happening, it's nice to be respected, and it's nice that these guys know that we're working hard and we're pushing ourselves, and it can only be good for a profession.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And you can sort of, even though you say you're ambitious on there, which I can definitely tell you are with what you've done, you also feels like you can't quite believe that you've done what you've done as well. Like you mentioned something earlier on about the fact that these doctors were actually asking your opinion and they were engaged with it. So like, where is that just naturally what you're like as a person, or is that a podiatric thing?
I suppose it's, if you're confident in what you do, it's easy. It's a bit like that, if you enjoy your work, it's not work really. So I love learning. I'm very respectful of other professions, of course. So, if I'm dealing with a physio, an orthopod and stuff, you're always inspired by these people. I mean, physios to me, I mean, if podiatrists knew 10% of the anatomy that a physio knows, we'd be a good profession. That's what I love about physio. They know their anatomy inside out. The docs know all the other physiology and stuff. What annoys me a little bit about podiatry, and this is I'll get on my little pulpit here. A lot of people call themselves foot specialists, and we're the specialists. And you're not. They don't know their anatomy. They don't know their functional anatomy. They don't know their nerves. They don't. You gotta, and this is where these people, this is part and parcel to them. If you're going to be the best, you've got to really, really learn, and that's why I go to a lot of these conferences and stuff like that, because you always learn something. And I think if that's when I used to go to the sort of, when I started the sports med and stuff, I was quite good. I knew my anatomy. I knew what things happened because it was drilled into me with the likes of Trevor and stuff. So, if there was a scan come up and you were looking at Tom, Dick and Harry, flexor hallucis, I knew where it started, where it originated, where it went, what its function was. And you could see some of these other professions, the physios, the docs, looking, going, my God, these podiatrists seem to know their stuff. And I suppose that was good. So they would ask me things, and and it would even be the case. I would be sitting having a coffee, and like some of the docs would come over to me and say, right, I've got this patient in with this. What do you think this could be? I was doing little consultations for them. Try this, try that. Try that. And that was really nice. And I found that I wasn't the only podiatrist, and there were other podiatrists in the group as well, and they were doing little consultations for these sort of gurus in lower limb, orthopedics, physio and things like that. So yeah, I suppose it was because I was probably confident in what I could do, and I could probably speak. And again, it was sometimes it was also a case where you're sort of going, how do they not know that? I mean, that's sort of basic stuff, but it's a podiatrist, it's basic to me, but to other professions that wasn't. And that's maybe where we got involved in being invited to speak at different conferences and things like workshops and things like that, which it's nice. So yeah, you just, again, just push yourself, learn. Education opens doors. It's not the key to success, of course. You need to be, but it is. If you've just, undergrad gives you an experience, but I've learned more from anything from just working, shadowing people, and just doing your postgrad. That's how you learn, and that's how you push yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice on it as well. And like, well, where do you see the profession that it feels like you've seen a big shift in where the profession's going?
It's huge. I mean, over the last few years, we've got some fabulous people, and especially in sports medicine. You know, we have an excellent guy. I'll mention a few names now. Jake Heath, superb guy. Jake made such a name. Jake was involved with a company he invited me over, Podiatric. They're a Spanish sports medicine company. They're based quite near Madrid. So they would, he invited me over, and you walk in and the first photograph you see is Ronaldo. You know, so they're treating all the top boys in Spain with Real Madrid. Their facilities were, I've never seen the likes of it. It was just like a different grade of anything I've ever seen in my life. Their whole assessment, their ultrasound, their diagnostic, MR, their gait analysis. They're the first company that I saw that made 3D printing orthoses, 3D printing orthoses for fractures of the nose, cheeks. They make bespoke shin pads for these players, boots. It was amazing. So Jake's huge. He was just back from Bermuda working there. Jake's another hugely inspirational guy. People like Trevor Pryor still pushing the way. Nat Padiar at QMUL. Nat is just taking podiatry to another level with regards to research. You have people like Olga Jones, people like Zoe Wilson. These people who are absolutely just taking it to another level, pushing ultrasound, pushing diagnostic MSK ultrasound. Nick Knight. The list's endless, but there are some super people involved in podiatry now, and I think the future's safe. And what's great, a lot of these people are now involved in education. They're role models, that they can totally inspire people. I'd like to think I'm in some way a little bit responsible for that. I set up a few Facebook pages. I set up Podiatric Sports Medicine. We've got over 1,100 people actively involved in that. We post regularly in that. I set up a Podiatric Diagnostic Ultrasound Facebook. We have close to 400 members on that. I set up a Podiatric Sports Medicine LinkedIn. It's only been going maybe 7-8 months. I have 350 pods and docs and physios from all over the world. It's amazing. You get contacts, and I'm sharing a lot of stuff, and people are sharing, and it's really pushing podiatry out there as well. So, that sort of stuff. I'm not huge into social media. I don't do the odd time. I do a bit of Instagram thing. So the Facebook page, our sports med, our ultrasound, and our LinkedIn page have really it's a bit of a showcase for us. We had our sports med conference in January there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to it. I had a few health issues, so I wasn't able to get to it. But I've been to most of those. I've been invited a few conferences this year. I've one in a couple of weeks' time in Ireland. We're going to be doing, myself and a colleague, Emma O'Callaghan, are going to be doing workshops on ultrasound, and just an introduction to ultrasound, and linking that with sarcopenia. I've got a few other sort of talks in the pipeline as well that I've been invited to, and I'm also looking at getting involved in a little bit of research at some stage with Salford University. Can't say too much about it at the minute, but we're looking at doing something on that. And I've also been invited to do a little article in our local RAG, our podiatrist journal. They've asked me with podiatry just exploding in podiatry. With ultrasound exploding podiatry. So I'm going to do a little introduction to the use of ultrasound in podiatric medicine. And I'm at the minute I'm working doing something like that. I've another tremendous chap that I probably should mention. He'd kill me for not mentioning, and it's somebody you should have on your podcast down the line. It's a guy called Alistair Oxbury, based in Taunton. Alistair has a fabulous clinic, Gate Clinic. I've never seen this clinic, just takes podiatry to another level. Such a great guy and knowledgeable. He's just recently qualified as ultrasound. And so I'm getting Alistair to do a case study for me for the article that I'm getting published. And so, yeah, podiatry's in safe hands. There's some fabulous people, and hopefully, and some of the people that have been involved in years, like the dinosaurs like me, hopefully we can inspire more and just push it. So I think it's in safe hands, and it's exciting. It's great. It's good. And who knows what's in store. Let's take it as far as we can.
Yeah, no, you can tell your excitement is infectious. I know it's great having people like you that are doing this, and some of the people you mentioned with Nick, Zoe, all of those guys. It's really impressive. Yeah. And I think for us, as you said before, it's not just about being a podiatrist or a physio or a doctor. It's like, how do we collaborate? And you mentioned that word, and I think it's so important that we're all coming together. And us in industry as well. Like my background, sports science. How do we all come together and advance everything? It's not about ego or you doing that. It's us. It's a togetherness thing.
Yeah, I think ego. I think if you're doing it for yourself, you'll end up being on your own. I think you have to really. I mean, that's the beauty of the people like Zoe and Nick and Alistair and Trevor. You know, they are great guys and totally inspiring. But the ego's nothing. It's when you ask them, it's not about them. It's about the profession. It's about how they can improve things for the good of the profession. You know what it's like yourself if you see someone and it's just about them. It's about how far they can take themselves, not about the profession. I think people get sort of turned off a bit like that, So I think it's nice having people who are very grounded, but still, when I speak to the likes of Trevor and I go, my God, what a career! He still thinks that he's just a normal guy. How have I said, Kerry, I was chatting to Trevor at the Foot and Ankles last year. Me and him sitting having a beer. I said, Trev, 30 years and you're more popular now than you ever were. And he laughs and he goes, and he says, yeah, but I haven't done anything different, And I said, but it's you. You've remained at ground. You're just grounded. You're unimposing. You're just that's just the way you are, and always there to help people. And I think that's amazing. Trevor takes the time, even on some of the sports med pages that I sort of admin, if there's a difficult question, Trev's on and he doesn't laugh at people. How do you not know that? He takes it to a basic level and explains it. And you can just see that that's why he's so popular and always will be, and so inspirational, because it's just how he is. And an absolute credit to the profession. And people like Zoe, Nick, they're all the same. They've got brilliant practices, but they still take time out to help people. And I know Nick and Zoe are doing a lot of CPD, which is fantastic. They've really set up a nice CPD forum, and I'm sure it's cost a lot of money. They'll probably never get the return on that, but I mean, they're doing that just to really sort of spread the news, and it's great. I think that's superb stuff. I don't know where they get the energy from. I was like that one stage in my life, not now.
No, it's great, and it really is like you definitely seem like you've got a lot of energy to me. So, like, final question, like, how do you switch off? Like, what do you do when you're not working?
Well, I told you I watch a lot of football. What else do I do? Play a bit of guitar, not very well. It's got the stage now. My family, I was playing something the other day, and my daughter was humming the tune. I was going, that's pretty good. Because usually when I was playing, they would be locking doors and that man's going mad in there. So I'm quite happy that I've got a little bit better. I'm involved completely mad from my dad was a bookmaker in the horses and the greyhounds. So myself and a few colleagues bought a greyhound last year. and that's been great fun. So we go to the races and we run our greyhound, and he's won races and cups and things. So I've got really interested, and that's good fun. And from that, I have a family, and my wife and I, we're at a stage in life now where kids are got a little bit up, so we do a lot of traveling. We can go away and get little weekends and doing a lot of city breaks. We were in Krakow there a few weeks ago. Fantastic. So yeah, that's how I get away from it. And my wife now, when I come home, she makes me just leave my phone down, not touching your phone, get off your phone, get off internet, you know, just relax. And I suppose that's what you have to do. And that's how I sort of put my days in, and still enjoy work. If I won the lottery tomorrow, would I still be doing what I do? Probably would be, actually, because I enjoy it so much. Maybe not as much, but yeah, it's a nice career. I enjoy it. I love it. I love being able to help people and get involved, and it's nice.
Yeah,
So,
well, your enthusiasm is infectious. So, like, I really appreciate you sharing your time on it, Sean. It's been great, and you are a credit to the profession and all of it, because you give me energy just listening to you. So it's really good, and I'm looking forward to doing some more stuff with you as well.
Perfect. That's great, Andy. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and
No
really
problem.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great. Cheers, Sean. Have a good one.
Best. You too. Bye bye.